What up, guys? Another day in the 402, getting another push session in, but this time just chest and shoulders, no triceps. Starting out on the hammer seated flat bench, doing something a little different. Besides the grip that you see, that was different from last time. Using exercises that recruit a high number of motor units to pre-exhaust the muscle instead of doing an isolation movement. So a couple of weeks ago, or a few YouTube videos ago, when I trained push, you saw me warm up with flies. So the thought process was getting the muscle in the most contracted position as possible. I'm still trying to achieve that, but instead of using it with a fly, which is an isolation exercise, what I want is I still want to get that contraction. I want to get that squeeze at the top to really wake up the chest and get that muscle as short as possible. But I also want to recruit a high number of motor units. I picked this tidbit up from Dr. Mike Israetel of Renaissance Periodization. And the reason for that is that you don't want an exercise to just exhaust you before you get to your, even though it says pre-exhaustion, you don't want it to just tire you out. You want it to serve a function. So with this, I'm hitting a high amount of motor units before I go on to my main pressing movement. So what the epiphany that came to my mind as I was going through this workout and prior to that talking with Dr. Mike is that pre-exhaustion doesn't have to necessarily mean you start off with an isolation movement. That's something that Joe Weider created. That aspect of doing the pre-exhaustion that way. Now, keep in mind that the way that I'm doing it is only a way. Joe Weider's way of doing pre-exhaustion is a way. The end result is muscle growth, but I'm trying to get on a more efficient path, a more effective path to building muscle. So, and this makes a lot more sense to me than starting off with an isolation movement and then going on to a compound. So again, we're recruiting movements that pick up a lot of motor unit recruitment at the outset, and then we're going on to a compound exercise. So a couple of things that you need to keep in mind is that when you're doing something like this, and although we're training chest today, we're going to use legs for an example. I talked with Dr. Mike on Instagram, sent him a voice message, and you want to look at degrees of freedom versus the isolation, right? So, and I'm paraphrasing, so please forgive me if I don't get this all the way, if Mike Israetel is listening. The degrees of freedom you want to look at. So with leg press, for example, you have 1 degree of freedom. You're basically pressing up and down on a slant, essentially, if you're using an angle leg press. Whereas a squat, you have multiple degrees of freedom. So with that being said, starting off with the hammer press was something that was a little bit more intelligent for this programming, and then moving on to an incline barbell press. So I'm still trying to get down the principles so I can explain it fully to you guys, but that's kind of the gist of it. But again, just a pre-exhaustion doesn't necessarily mean you need to start off with some type of isolation movement. So now that we've gotten that out the way, let's get back to the workout. Stalled out on 4 at 275 on the incline press, which many of you have seen my incline press before. It's around about 315 on a good day. I'm going to attribute that to me not doing the exercise on a rather frequent basis. So, as I said in my Instagram post earlier today, it looks like a deload is coming up. But I'm trying to plan out my training calendar long term. So that's what I want to get across to you guys in this video as well, is that you want to set your training program long term. In the example that I'm talking about, I know Ramadan's coming up. Around about March. So it's not going to make sense for me to continue to push and continue to just go ahead and pound my body during that month of Ramadan, that like I've done the 2 previous ones. So what am I going to do this one? I'm going to go into a priming phase that's going to be systemic and oxidative in nature, and that's going to be made by my friend, you've seen me mention him before, Nick Langer. He's going through something similar right now, and now that he understands the concepts behind it and how it works, I can now employ him to write me out a 4-week priming phase. So when Ramadan is over and the calories do go back up, I can utilize those calories in a more efficient manner. I can recover. I can have the wind, basically, seeing that I went through those 2 phases to get through very, very tough workouts. I don't know what that looks like on paper just yet. I don't even know when Ramadan is coming up in 2021, but I know it's around the March time frame. So with that being said, I'm excited for the next block of training to come. I think in a couple of more weeks I'll set a deload, and then we'll go into maintenance, where we're just kind of, we're lifting to maintain. We're not really trying to force muscle growth like we are now. But we'll go with the maintenance phase, and then we'll get into another deload, and then we'll just go into the priming phase, or we'll just go straight from maintenance to priming. Like I said, I don't know what that looks like on paper. I have to get some feedback from Nick, and then we'll just go from there. But like I said, I'm excited for this next phase of training, even in Ramadan. The Olympia doesn't have me feeling any type of certain way. I'm not more motivated or any more motivated than what I am. I will say about the Olympia, I don't think a couple of winners in the open class were chose correctly, but that's just me. I've never been the biggest fan of Rami's physique. I think while he won, and while he deservedly won, because he was just so overpowering and dominating with really, really, really good condition for his size, I think it sends the wrong message. I think it sends to people that you need to be a 290-pound freak ripped on stage to come close to sniffing any Olympia title. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that is the case. I don't think that somebody should be awarded with the top prize in bodybuilding for being 290 pounds on stage. I don't feel that's accomplishable. But again, he won it. He deserved to win it. So, that's that. Brandon Curry in second was a good call. I would have had Hadi Chupan third, just because he was sharpening up at the night show. Phil Heath, what can you say more about Phil Heath? I'll be the first to admit I'm not the biggest Phil Heath fan, but I think he should come back for one more round. Hopefully Sean Roden can get in that mix as well. Hopefully Rowley can get in that mix as well next year. So 2021, while 2020 was a big pile of dog shit, 2021 in some aspects, at least from a bodybuilding standpoint, looks to be up on the up and up, even though there won't be an Arnold in March. But that's all I got, guys. Hope you enjoyed the workout. Hope you enjoyed me rambling. If you got any questions, please visit me on my social media sites, and I'll put today's workout on my website, www.tenacitystrength.wordpress.com. All right, y'all take care.